So this is now the start of another day on the i200 project, and it's a good, exciting day because I've got everything back now. Tom's been busy painting all this up for me. This has all been ran through the shot blaster. It's all been treated, primed and painted in 2K gloss black. We've got our rear anti-roll bar done, rear axle done, rear springs, trailing arms, axle cross member and torque tube, prop shaft, sump, all the connecting arms, front cross member, front springs, calipers are all done, front anti-roll bar, and the steering rack. Now I've got new gaiters to go on the steering rack. We left them on basically just to save us masking it out. We didn't want to get any paint in that rack, because obviously it's all greased up. And I've also got all my stuff back from the zinc plater as well, so we've got all nice new shiny stuff to bolt it all back together with. I've had back word from the engine builder as well. The engine is now fully rebuilt. That's ready to collect on Tuesday. Today's Saturday, so I should be getting that back in the next couple of days, and I can also then set about rebuilding the engine with all these nice new shiny engine mounts and everything going on there as well. I've got all my bits and bobs for the engine painted up, all the inlet manifold and all that lot is all done as well. I've got a massive pile of parts over here. So this consists of all new gasket seals, upper ball joints, lower ball joints, trap rod ends, wheel bearings, fuel pump, fuel filters, anti-roll bar drop links, gearbox seals, diff seals, all sorts of stuff, head bolts, brake pipes, brake pads, all sorts of new stuff there ready to go on. So I'm going to start to mock this up now. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get these mounts bolted back in the top of there, and then I can lift that cross member and put it up on the car. Once I've got that cross member in, I can then start to build everything from there outwards. So it just saves me trying to, rolling around on the floor trying to build this, because I don't want to scratch it, and it's pretty difficult when you're trying to, hold that and put the arms and everything in and all the nuts and bolts. So it's likely to get damaged doing it on the floor. So I think that's the best way to do it, is to put that cross member in first and then build off the cross member while it's on the car. So let's get to it. Let's start building this thing up. Well, I've not had 2 routes before. Engine will go in, won't it? Not engine block, just doing one cross member at the end of the Yeah, we'll just drop it in with an engine set there. Correct, now. Two of them there? Yeah. Oh, we need 3. 2 each side, don't we? You've not got 4, so you must have 2 out somewhere. I did. Really? Everything ends up in the pit. 15. No. There you go. Camera. I've got one then top bit on it. What are you listening for? So I can work out, because I don't really know what buttons press on that, and 16. They don't actually move that. Just tighten them up. God, you cause fat. I'll bring it all the way to the front. Tightened. Are we alright? I'll wait there. I need to dip in Glenn's unit before I go actually finish my video off on this Scania. How's it going on, Scania? Well, I'll have a look in a minute. No! God damn it! Wow! I hate that pit. Why don't we just cover it all up? Right, let's try again. Yeah, don't drop it this time. Where is it? No, we get one, aren't we? I've got one. Get one done, there should be a few spares of that. There's one already done in the trailer. Is there? That through, do you want a nut? They usually come out, don't they? Have you put the flat part to the front or the back? I've no idea. Didn't realise there was a flat part. Just quite important, guys, that you make sure that you get the stoppers lined up on the rubbers. So on the rubber you have a stopper in the top which has got to line up with the edge of the spring there, and then in the bottom of the lower arm you can see that there's also a stop there which this bottom part of the spring has to sit against as well. So it's quite important you get that correct, because if you don't, you could end up with a lopsided car, because one side will probably end up higher than the other. So it's just a case of pushing this in. These are a progressive spring. Let's pull this lower arm down as far as it'll go. Slide that up. So we know that stopper is going to finish about there. That's not actually in a bad spot, that. Twist it a little bit. Pop that in there. And that is perfect. Now these can be a little bit tight. Now I'm going to need a little helping hand here to close this up, because what we've got to do now is drop our spindle on like so, and then we need to close that gap up between the upper and lower ball joints. Now I'm fighting against the spring here, so it's quite tight, so I'm going to use the transmission stand underneath here just to give me a help. Now I've got to be careful also here, because obviously at the moment this car is on a ramp and I've got to be quite careful that I don't knock it off the ramp with this transmission jack. So I've just got to be quite wary whilst I'm doing this, because obviously as I'm pushing this up now, it's going to try and force this car backwards. So I'm just going to keep an eye on this and make sure we don't get any lift between the car and the ramp. If I see any movement in that, then obviously I'm going to have to stop what I'm doing. Now the plan here is, once I've got this built up, I've got the spring in this side, I'm going to put the hubs on temporarily. At the moment I need to replace the wheel bearings, but at the moment I'm worried about weight distribution here now on the ramp. So I'm going to put the front hubs on and the front calipers on to get as much weight in this front end as I can. I'm going to balance this front end with this transmission jack just supporting under this front cross member, and then I'm going to move on and start to fit the rear axles and the torque tube just to get a bit of weight distribution and put a little bit of weight on the rear end of this car to try and balance things out a little bit. So let's get this lifted up whilst keeping an eye on the ramp at the same time, and also trying to make sure that this spring doesn't contact inside there and cause any scratches to our nice fresh paint. Now you'll notice there now, guys, this is now at teetering point. You'll see that gap there now is starting to increase, so I am getting a little bit of lift here now, so it's actually pushing the car up off the ramp. So this is the point I've got to be careful at, but I have just got enough to be able to force this one down into there like so, and get the nuts on. Oh, I dropped it. Take two. Like that. Get the nuts on and then relieve the pressure back off the stand. Now I'm just going to place this stand back under the middle of our cross member here, just to give us a little bit of support again, because the next thing we're going to do is move on to the rear axle. At the moment, obviously the car is now getting a little bit front heavy because there's nothing on the rear end of the shell. All the weight is now on this front end, so that's now safe. We know the car isn't going to pitch forward. Like I say, I'm going to get the hubs and the calipers pushed on here now. I'm going to get this track rod end in, and then we can start to try and look at getting the rear axle on. Let's get this track rod end in. Contract would end in. Now I am leaving all this loose for the moment, guys, because I'm going to be using all the correct torque settings on this car, but I do want to preload the suspension before I do that, and again I'll be using the transmission jack, but as I've just said, the car is unbalanced at the moment, so I don't want to start pushing all the weight on here while I start torquing all these bolts up and end up with the car falling off the ramp. So I'm going to build it all loose. Once I've got the weight distribution correct, then I'll go around it all and torque all the bolts to the correct setting. The amount of Mantas I've built, and I've just made this mistake. Well, I have had the kids here with me this afternoon running right around the garage, so I'm going to blame them. You might have noticed there, some of the eagle-eyed viewers, that I have actually fitted the rear springs in the front axle. Amazing. So that now means I've got to take all this back off and put the correct springs, which are those springs, the bigger poundage springs, the thicker springs, which are at the front where the front cross member was, in the front axle. God damn it. Right, ain't nothing to it but to redo it, I suppose. Wrong one out. Correct one going in. Right guys, here we go. So we've now got the correct springs in the front. Can't believe I did that, to be fair, but again, that's what this channel's all about. We're real, we show the good and the bad. We all make mistakes, nobody's perfect. It's so easy to get sidetracked, especially when you've got kids flying around on quad bikes and push bikes and scooters and all sorts of stuff. Like I say, I have the kids here with me today. So yes, I will blame them for this little mistake. But anyway, back into the job in hand. So correct springs are now on. We've got the steering rack on, we've got the spindles on. Just about to drop the hubs on. I've got the hub on that side, I'm going to put the hub on this side. Again, these are only going on temporarily, just to get a bit of weight distribution going on. We'll be taking these back off. I'm going to try and find some new discs for these. However, I'm not entirely sure what discs these are, because they're definitely not standard discs. They are vented, and obviously Manta discs are not vented, and they look a little bit bigger than a standard disc. I mean, to be fair, the discs are not bad. There's no lip on them. They might even clean up. We'll have to have a look at these. And the calipers are definitely not standard calipers. So these are the calipers. Again, these are definitely not standard Manta calipers. They are bigger. They could be Vectra or Astra, maybe. Either Vectra or Astra. Don't know if anybody can identify those. Please do let me know in the comments what they're off, because I do need to find some brake pads for them, so that should get interesting. So I'm going to drop these on now. And again guys, it is important that you always get your bleed nipple to the top and not at the bottom, because obviously you're not going to get the air out of the system if the bleed nipple is pointing downwards. So I'm going to get these on, make sure they're on the correct way. That'll put a little bit more weight on this front end, and then we can start looking at possibly trying to get this back axle lifted up into place. Good candidate. Yep. And it's the... Take that off a minute. Let me get some washers for this. Where's that bolt? Just let me get this in place. Yeah. I'm going to put a washer on one side of it first. Right, the axle needs to come over. someone one day will thank me for copper greasing all these nuts and bolts.
Maybe it's not as lucky as I thought.
Before I put them back in.
Well, that'll still work.
Yes. Right, so that is the diff built back up, diff cover on, half shafts back in, and the panhard rod is now on. Now the next stage is going to be, or the next step is going to be to put the springs in, and then we can lift it up with the transmission jack and get these shockers in. Now we're just putting a set of temporary shocks in here for the moment, because what we need to do is get this on the floor, because we've realised that actually the ramp is now in the way of fitting our trailing arm. So the trailing arm goes from there to this bracket that you can just see there. And obviously the ramp is slap bang right in the way. So we're going to have to get some temporary shocks on it and then reposition this ramp to allow us to get our trailing arms on, which is a bit of a nightmare, but it's got to be done. So springs going in, temporary shockers on, because the shockers that are going on it are actually in the paint shop at the moment. So these are just obviously going on temporarily.
Rubber's in the bottom. Tight one bit to the chassis. I've got to drop that transmission jack now.
Down?
Yeah.
Alright, hold on.
Yeah, I don't want to tip it off.
Alright, going down.
Yep. We'll get both sides in first, I think. Put him on that. Alright, let's have it up. We can guide both in. You guide that in at the same time.
Yep. Up we go. You ready?
Make sure it's in the correct position on the axle. Yep, yep, perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
Lovely.
Right. Oof, get out there.
Push it off the ramp.
Oof, yeah, it's going off the ramp now. On temporary. Stick a knot on that. Easy peasy. Gotta wait a week for it to go up now.
That's right. As I was saying earlier, we need to reposition this ramp. Now we was going to drop the car to the floor and put the wheels on it, but Kevin's just come up with an idea of, can we lift the car up on this transmission jack? So we're going to give it a go. It might get a little bit sketchy. Just hope it doesn't start to rock and float about, but it's only going to be momentarily, just while we slide these arms back on the ramp one at a time and just sort of move them forward by about 12 inches. So let's see if this works. I'll stand on the back of it, shall I? Eek. Eek.
That doesn't actually come to me anymore than that. I need to bring it down.
Don't like it. Alright, hold on.
How do we move that in?
Just whatever you're doing, don't do that because you're rocking the car all over the place.
I need to take that out. If it doesn't move in, how do we move it in?
You need to do these adjust when it hits the floor, so you need to
give it a knock. There we go.
lift that up.
Yep.
Okay.
Will it come in and flow? That's the problem.
Possibly not.
And not lift this again. Yeah. Yeah, looks right.
Next side.
I'm not going under that, I'm around it.
Come on, lift this for me.
Two hazards, falling in the pit, having a car falling.
It is.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Roll this back down a bit, shall we?
Do it.
Yeah, that worked.
I win. Don't lower it too much, your springs will fall out.
Okay.
Give it a bit more compression on them springs so they don't fall out.
Alright then.
Yeah.
Fall out.
Alright.
You also have
Fine.
a little bit looser than mine. There you go. Happy now?
Yeah, perfect. Well done. Now you can get the
Trailing arms.
trailing arms on now.
Right, so we've got the fuel lines in for the most part now, which is a little bit of reshaping to do. Obviously this is copper, so it's very, very soft. So once we've got it all fastened in place, we can then go around it and just neaten it all up and take out the bends and the ripples as best as we can. Now we are short of a few of these clips. We've got all the rubbers, but some of these clips, these are still at the zinc plates as we've not had them all back yet. So once they come, we can get all these clips on. Once all them clips are on, that's when we can start to reshape all these fuel pipes and make them all nice and straight and even as possible, but looking good. We've got it all the way up to here, and now we need to bend that up because this actually comes around this curve. You can see the peg there, but it's got to go on, and it comes up here and goes on that peg as well. And then obviously the fuel pump bolts to this, and then it's piped with rubber pipe from the fuel pump to the copper pipe. We are using Codan R9 hose as well, which is one of the best hoses you can get on the market at the moment. We've used it many times, not had any issues with it, so that is what we're going to be using on this car. Now Kevin's just about to cut some sleeves. Now through these holes normally you have some rubber grommets, but they generally just fall out, they don't stay in very well at all. So the way we do it is we just use some rubber hose like so, push it right through and sleeve the pipe with the rubber hose, and it generally lasts a lot longer and does a better job than just having some crappy little grommets in there. And obviously the idea of that is just to stop these pipes chafing and rubbing through, because the last thing you want is that rubbing through, rubbing a hole in, the next thing you've got fuel spraying everywhere. Obviously that's not good. And then we've got to do the same again on there and just sleeve it through here. So Kev's just going to cut some pipe now, and that's what we're up to next. We're going to get these sleeved. Bolt. The doofer. What's the doofer? The rubber doofer. So that's the front shocks now on, looking really nice. Now we was going to fit the rear shocks, however, when we was fitting the fuel lines, we've actually had to drop this cross member down just to allow us the room, because the fuel lines actually swoop over the top of this cross member. Now to get the shocks on, we need to put that back in place, because at the moment these shock absorbers that we're putting temporarily is all that's stopping this axle from falling off. So obviously we can't remove those until that is on. While that is dangling down, we're thinking we may as well now run the rear brake pipe, which almost follows the fuel lines. So it goes down here in these clips, and then it tracks across the transmission tunnel, goes around there, and then follows these clips up the side of the chassis rail, and then up here, and then into the brake bias valve. Now again, we've put this brake bias valve on temporarily. We are going to be sending the bracket off to be zinc plated, and we'll be cleaning this up. But just to give us the position of where the brake pipe needs to be, to give us the length, we've fixed this on temporarily, and we've actually flared the end, which is a double flared end, into the brake bias valve. So we can now screw this in and then work our way from the front down here, across there, and then into the back. Once we've got that brake pipe in, we can then lift this cross member, this rear axle cross member, back into position, and then look at getting the rear shocks on. We'll take that down there off me a sec, Kev. Multitasking, okay. Clip on the bulkhead there. That's for the speedo drive, isn't it? Is it? Yeah, it's a speedo cable. Oh, right, okay. Right, well, we're in anyway. that where it is now. So we have the brake pipe in its rough position. Again, it wants straightening up a bit and just making look a little bit neater, but it's in all the clips. So now we know we put a temporary rear brake pipe flex on as well, because I haven't actually got my new one here yet. So just so we know the lengths now, what we can do now, this is in position. We know it's correct at the front because it's in the bias valve, so we know that length is correct. We know it's in the right position all the way down here, around the gearbox tunnel and down to the rear flex. We can now remove this off the car. We've got our brake flaring tool in the vise ready to go. So we're going to pop this off, flare the ends, and then put this back on the car, because we've tried using in the past one of them hand flaring tools and it was an absolute nightmare to use, and the flare it gave on the brake pipe was just garbage. So we've done it this way, so we can take the pipe off, flare it on the vise, and then put this pipe back on the car. Right, so we've had the brake pipe off, we've flared both ends. It's an OP1 on one end and an OP2 on the other. So it's now all flared up, correct shape. I'm just about to start feeding it back in the car. Hopefully it'll go back in without too much hassle. Feed this bit in. Over there. Very good. In there. Front in. Right, just got to get that. Right, so with them brake pipes now in position, we can now get this cross member lifted back up, bolted back in, and start to look at getting these rear shocks in. There we go. Up a bit. Yep, a bit more. Alright. Got that off there now as well. Springs back in position. Transmission jack under. Set away the axle and then we can drop these shocks off. This didn't go down the pit. Yeah. I'll get your other shock, hang on. Lovely. Just need that nut on the end of it. There it is. Overhead nuts. Top bit. Right guys, so some really good progress made on this episode. Engine bay's looking really, really nice now. All the front cross member is in. We've got the fuel pipes, the rubber fuel pipes ready to go in once the engine's dropped in. The engine is now fully rebuilt, ready to collect. I've just not had a chance to go and collect it. Hopefully in the next couple of days I'll get that, and then we can start looking at actually dropping the engine in and getting all the wiring in. But look at that. Shiny, shiny. I'm going to lift the car up. We'll have a quick recap of what we've done underneath. So here we go, underneath. Rear axle in. Nice refurbed Bilstein shockers. All the springs refurbed, repainted. All nice new shiny. Nuts and bolts all been zinc plated. We stripped that axle down, if you remember, as well, because it did have some grit in it. That's all now been stripped, cleaned out, all put back together. New drums, all new brake shoes have been put in. We've got new rear wheel cylinders in there as well. Torque tubes on, axle cross members on. Handbrake cables in. All the fuel lines are now run down. Brake pipe is run down. We've also sleeved all the brake pipes around all the brackets so it's not rubbing. We've sleeved the fuel pipes through the cross members and the jacking points. So again, so they're not rubbing and chafing. And there's the front cross member all rebuilt as well with all nice new shiny zinc plated nuts and bolts. We've got new anti-roll bar drop links, new lower ball joints, new upper ball joints, new trap rod ends, new steering rack gaiters. Again, nice and refurbed. Billies on the front as well. Anti-roll bars on. Brake bias valve is just there temporarily, as I explained earlier, just so we could get that brake pipe in. Calipers on. New flexes ready to be connected up. How good is that looking? Look at that. Well happy with that. This is actually the first car I've ever done in body colour underneath. We normally just do it in black stone chip. I think it was worthwhile doing because that looks absolutely fantastic. So there we go guys, I think that is some really, really good progress on this car, on this episode. I'm going to leave this one here. Let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Give us a like, give us a share. We'll see you all on the next video.